for answers.
And it really takes the whole community to get together and identify the problem, but to make sure that we're all working together for the solutions.
Good evening and welcome to News 4 San Antonio In Depth. I'm Mandy Noel. In the next half hour, we'll take a deep dive into Child Protective Services investigations. We have relentlessly covered these stories, asking the tough questions, demanding accountability as we advocate for vulnerable children in our community. Plus, we'll have all of today's news headlines, weather, and sports. But we have to begin with some breaking news first. A state judge has ruled the Texas Department of Public Safety needs to release records related to the 2022 mass shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde. A group of news organizations sued for access to the records more than a year ago. The DPS has been working to block the release of these records for the past year and a half. The files would give insight to the failed law enforcement response to the shooting that happened in May of 2022. According to an article by the Texas Tribune, the judge's order requires the DPS to provide the records within 20 days, although they could still appeal the decision. We received a statement from State Senator Roland Gutierrez, who's been pushing for the release of the records. It says in part, the Texas cover-up on Uvalde must stop. That's what today's court ruling means. I will never forget the screams of grieving parents that day. And I will never forgive Texas officials who withheld even the most basic information from these Uvalde families and the Texans they were sworn to protect and serve. End quote. We will continue to follow this developing story. We'll have the latest for you tonight and also on news4sa.com. To our in-depth coverage now on CPS investigations. The data backs up some serious concerns. This is a look at the number of CPS abuse and neglect investigations in fiscal year 2022 and 21. Statewide, there were just over 166,000. That's up from more than 157,000 in 2021. In Bexar County, there were 13,020 investigations in fiscal year 2022, up from just over 12,000 in 2021. The state investigated nearly 1,000 child deaths in fiscal year 2022, an increase from the year before. And of those 22 deaths, 18% makes 182 children in Texas died from abuse and neglect. Another 62 were labeled as near fatalities. The News 4i team has been trying for years to figure out why Bexar County has seen a rise in cases of abuse and neglect. New research from UTSA hopes to uncover the answer. The study, launched in 2021, should be finished in the next year. 45 child welfare professionals across a variety of fields weighed in on the trends they see, hoping to figure out and get to the root cause. News 4SA got an inside look at what researchers are finding so far.
We know that childhood poverty here in Bexar County is way higher than state averages. And we also have lower education attainment. And this is also telling us that maybe we should put more resources into prevention of child maltreatment.
That prevention could come in the form of policy and more of a group effort to prevent abuse. The study is funded by a $5,000 grant. We also recently spoke with community and county leaders about the dangerous trend and what can be done to help the kids who need it most.
Child abuse is really a complex problem, and it really takes the whole community to get together and identify the problem, but to make sure that we're all working together for the solutions.
The county can do a lot. I've had conversations with Child Protective Services just recently as to how we can get more proactive.
State reports show that last month, the number of completed investigations into physical, sexual, and emotional abuse were all on the rise. A recent case here in Bexar County caught our attention. It caught your attention. It's a horrific child abuse case involving a 1-year-old little girl living in this home. She was severely burned and injected with methamphetamine. Bars and all the children living there have been removed from the home. The News 4i team found out authorities had tried to remove the kids before, but the Bexar County District Attorney's Office denied the request. State Rep John Lujan is trying to figure out why.
I've demanded that they give me a chronological order of events that happened. I want to get their playbook of how do we handle things, their process map. We're going to get to the bottom of this because when I look at it at face value, it really, really disturbs me. 6 children having to endure a life like that in their short lifetimes is horrible.
We asked the Bexar County DA's office about why the removal requests were denied. The office says Texas law requires information surrounding these investigations stay confidential, so no one affiliated with the DA could comment. Now, the parents, Amanda Kelly Mann and Dustin Michael Lawrence, are arrested for multiple charges related to child endangerment. Those charges are pending review by a county grand jury. Right now, the children are living with other family. We're told they've been requesting help from CPS. There is a CPS hearing scheduled for them next week. Mann and Lawrence are due in court for pre-hearings in early December. We'll keep you updated on the case. You'll see from this data on the CPS website, Bexar County leads the state in the number of CPS removals, close to 1,100 in fiscal year 2022. The number of denials by county is not reported. A Texas law passed in 2021 requires more proof for Child Protective Services to remove children from their homes. But especially after recent child abuse cases here in Bexar County, some advocates feel that's having an impact on safety. Reports show that the numbers of new removals is at an all-time low, just over 9,000 last year, despite steady reports of abuse and neglect. Bexar County Judge Peter Sakai spent decades hearing child abuse cases before stepping into his current role. He says some of the blame falls on lawmakers.
I've seen over the past 2 or 3 legislative sessions laws that have really restricted Child Protective Services. It's made it harder for CPS to remove children.
2 new laws regarding child abuse went into effect this September. One requires parents to be informed of their rights before a child abuse investigation starts, similar to how the police read Miranda rights. The other bars you from anonymously reporting child abuse to the state. News 4 I-Team's Jordan Elder breaks down this new legislation and the impact it could have for kids in our community.
As of September 1st, the state can no longer accept anonymous reports of abuse and neglect when you call them in. Your name and phone number have to be attached. But advocates say even though it's no longer anonymous, that doesn't mean your report isn't confidential.
I was concerned. I continue to be concerned.
House Bill 63 eliminated anonymous reporting for abuse and neglect, at least when you call the state. It says law enforcement agencies can still take anonymous reports. You can see the changes noted here on the Abuse Hotline website. State Senator Jose Menendez says he worries for the reporters who fear retaliation.
I really think that people should have the capacity to be able to report something without any sense of fear.
It is important to note state law requires you to report it if you believe child abuse or neglect is happening. And even with your name and phone number attached, the state assures us, quote, reporters' names are confidential by law and there are legal protections in place. The bill's analysis says the change will help quell false reports, which are illegal, and save investigators time. People who worked on the bill say there were some cases where people would weaponize the anonymity during divorces or custody battles. Child advocates say anonymous reports are also much harder to follow up on, meaning this could lead to more thorough investigations for kids and families.
The investigators I talk to, they want to know your name. They want to be able to follow up and ask follow-up questions, right? And if you could maybe answer that one more question, that could turn my investigation entirely.
Policy analysts say there were 12,427 anonymous reports in fiscal year 2022. Only about 700 were substantiated. It's too soon to tell how this law will impact the number of reports coming in, but lawmakers say this is always something they can revisit.
I know there's pros and cons on both ways, but I think we need to look at the data. And a lot of times, if that's a big concern, then let's go back and let's tweak. And nothing's off the table for me.
Across the nation, California will also be barring anonymous abuse reporting next year, and several other states are considering it. For the News 4 I-Team, I'm Jordan Elder.
Thank you, Jordan. Hundreds of Texas children in state custody are known as CWAP, or children without placement, and the numbers are growing. According to Child Protective Services, there were 385 CWAP in fiscal year 20. The number quadrupled in 2021 to more than 1,500. In fiscal year 2022, the number was down, still a staggering 1,242. Some of these children stay in hotels. Our investigation uncovered recent documents showing federal court monitors are now looking into all state-approved placement facilities. According to recent court hearing reports from the monitors, many investigations into neglect or abuse are being mislabeled by state investigators. In transcripts, a federal judge said, quote, monitors identified significant threats to children's safety in connection with 365 of the 526 inspections, the state did not identify these threats in 100 cases, undermining the process, end quote. The judge also said there is a lack of required nighttime supervision to protect children. We wanted to see where Bexar County stands on the state of CWAP children in our area. Judge Mary Lou Alvarez told us children who end up in hotels have a list of recommendations of what facilities need for them to have placements. In one of the reports submitted to the court, it showed the treatment of these children need most include battling physical aggression, mental health diagnosis, and many of them are victims of sexual assault.
We need more therapists. We need more therapists that are willing to think and work outside the box, come to the hotel if that's where the children are at, figure out how to connect.
Judge Alvarez says this is a crisis at a state level that needs to be improved and focused on now. The agency aimed at helping Texas families and kids in need is facing its own challenges. What's causing concern still ahead. And we'll tell you about a new program designed to fast-track students into high-paying jobs next in tonight's News 4 Snapshot.
And I'm Don Harris here at the Frost Bank Center. It is game night. Spurs and Hawks, an update on Victor Wembanyama's availability. That's coming up straight ahead.
You're watching News 4 San Antonio.
Can you guys hear me and see me? Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Do I need to do anything here? Okay. Oh, they got it. Yeah, what about it? I have the remote. Yep, hit the arrows down. Go to hide. Where's hide? Oh, so you mean across. Okay, okay, there we go. All right, nice. I figured it out. Okay.
Well, of course, today is the last day of November, so here's a look at November 2023 in San Antonio. It was a little cooler than normal for a change of pace. 0.2 degrees cooler than normal, and nothing new here. Another month where we had a rainfall deficit just over a ½ inch. Here comes December. Here a look at some of the records for the month in San Antonio. The coldest we have ever seen, 4 degrees, December 23rd of 1989. The hottest, 90, Christmas Day, 1955. We do get occasionally a little snow. The most we've ever seen in the month, 4.5 inches back in 1929, and we can get some rain. Love to see this happen this month. That's our record rainfall, 6.34. Speaking of December, I'll be out tomorrow in Garden Ridge. Come on out and join us. I'll be the master of ceremonies. We're going to flip the switch with the mayor and get that Christmas tree lit. 70 degrees as we light the tree. Santa will be out as well if you want to bring the kids out. And there's going to be some good music from local students in Garden Ridge.
Good evening, I'm Melissa Vega, and this is your News 4 Snapshot. San Antonio police are investigating a family disturbance between a suspect and his girlfriend at an apartment complex along Cripple Creek near Harry Warsbach. Police say the girlfriend was able to get out of the apartment and the man escaped through a back door. 3 small children inside were taken out. And San Antonio College and the San Antonio ISD announcing a new program aimed to fast-track students into high-paying nursing positions. ISD students can earn an associate's degree with a registered nurse certification. They will also have the chance to complete certifications in other medical-related fields as well. And that's a look at tonight's News 4 Snapshot.
Thanks, Melissa. They investigate abuse and neglect cases in our state and now face their own issues. Why some say one very important agency is facing major turnover troubles. Next.
Can't make people happy. Hey!
Hi, Don Harris, live.
Okay, thank you. Mic check, Don, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
6 minutes away, Don, mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 minutes away. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Frost Bank Center, where tonight the Spurs host DeJounte Murray and the Atlanta Hawks.
Welcome back to News 4 In Depth. The Department of Family and Protective Services has a duty to help Texas parents and children who need it most. The agency investigates abuse and neglect, and it makes tough decisions about keeping families together. But in fiscal year 2022, nearly a third of its employees left. Advocates say that's a big concern. We spoke with a woman who recently retired from the department and now works with the Texas State Employees Union. She says people are struggling with work-life balance. They're overloaded and they don't want to give subpar care. As for what may solve this,
fair compensation and then support people to be able to support these vulnerable families and children.
DFPS documents show it's working on retention, pay raises for some employees, meetings to talk about how workers are doing, and more training. Advocates call on lawmakers to look at pay raises too.
Now your certified most accurate 4-zone weather with Chief Meteorologist Chris Suchan.
All right, well, earlier this morning started off with fog, low visibility, drizzle, patches of rain. It was a murky start to the day. Slowed down the commute. I'll tell you what, we missed out on thunderstorms in our eastern zone counties. I was actually happy to see that because there was a little bit of a severe risk, and the Houston area did really well. This is all beneficial rain. This is drought-stricken areas here in southeast Texas, so love seeing that. We just have a scattering of some clouds out there now. So rainfall amounts, we had a half-inch in Helotes. There's Lake Hills, Alamo Ranch, Leon Valley did well. A little lighter on the amounts in the southern half, where it was 1/10 to about 1/3 of an inch of rain. Officially at the airport, 0.35. is how it will go into the books here on this last day of November. Much less out to the west, just a few drops. And in our eastern zone, because you missed out on thunderstorms with downpours, your rainfall amounts were also a little bit more subdued. Temperatures, they're mild, but very comfortable if you're out this evening. 60s, still 70 degrees right now in Gonzales. And do want to point out, too, we just had a beautiful sunset. We're starting to lose that light here with our cameras, but you kind of can make it out there. We had these high clouds in Uvalde. It was really putting on a show out there in Uvalde. Kerrville as well had a great looking sunset. And now, again, as said, you see the drier air. The lower the dew point temperature, the drier the air is. So when you get in the 50s and 60s, it's still humid in San Antonio, but this drier air is slowly going to be pushing east. Should be able to make it into San Antonio tonight, but you could easily see where it sort of stalls out in the morning. Right in here, this will be the fog, low cloudiness boundary where the air's still muggy. So keep that in mind for your early travel plans, perhaps Pearsall, Pleasanton, Floresville. Maybe around Gonzales or down to Carrizo Springs might have a little fog, Eagle Pass, and then it's just going to be a beautiful Friday. Here you have it. We'll take you through the motions. In the morning, there you see some low cloud cover, some fog. There could be a little mist in here too. Do want to point that out. And then the afternoon, keep a small rain chance in our eastern zone counties. If you are driving for the weekend to Houston, there could be a cluster of some thunderstorms in the Houston area, but not in our area. Here's your Friday forecast. It's 52 in the morning, 71, 76 short sleeve weather for the afternoon. So this system moves on. There's actually a little bit more energy behind it, a couple of these disturbances, but the atmosphere is going to be a little drier, not as supportive of a rain chance. So unless we are able to get maybe a shower in our eastern zone tomorrow or sprinkles Saturday morning, not really excited about rain chances with the pattern. There's a big system down around Mexico next week, but it's never able to really throw rain up our ways, at least as of now with the data trends. That cool front will drop us a bit, make it a sprinkle or shower next Friday, and then I am watching, you see the date, well, actually it should be the 10th, the 11th, or not the time, but we may have a big system coming into the state the 10th to the 11th of December. We'll watch those trends for you. All right, 7-day forecast. 70s through the weekend. The mornings are cool to chilly. Afternoons, warm, short-sleeve weather. I mean, this is really Chamber of Commerce temperatures for us next 7 days. Not much of a rain chance, though. We'd like to see more chances here. We need that water. Hill country, it's pretty dry forecast next 7 days. And our eastern zone, just a little 20% chance of rain tomorrow. Now here's Don.
This is the Thomas J. Henry Sports Desk.
Tonight's Wemby Watch segment is sponsored by Central Med Pediatrics.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Frost Bank Center. It is game night for your San Antonio Spurs as the Spurs host DeJounte Murray and the Atlanta Hawks trying to snap this 12-game losing streak, and the verdict is in, and it's good news. Victor Wembanyama will play tonight after first initially being put on the injury report with a sore hip. He was just out here moments ago going through his warm-up, and again, he is good to go. The Spurs on the first game of a back-to-back. They are in New Orleans tomorrow night. The Spurs have played 2 back-to-backs so far this year. Wemby's played in both. He's playing in every game, and he is tearing up the NBA, leading rookies in just about every category. And I asked him this week if Tim Duncan has reached out to give him any tips.
We run into each other regularly, and it's just like Manu and also Tony. Many of the guys who still take care of us, and it's, they aren't trying to, they're not trying to school us, but they're still trying to be supportive and talk with us. Maybe sometimes translate a little bit what the coach is trying to tell us because they've been through it. But it's always good advice, but not too much of it.
All right, so will the streak end tonight? Spurs with a great chance against the Hawks. Tip-off at 7 o'clock. We'll have all the highlights for you tonight at 10 o'clock. Hey, the Cowboys are back in action tonight, by the way. It's streaming only on Prime, so a lot of fans may miss it. The Cowboys have won 5 out of the last 6 games, but not one of those teams that they beat has a winning record. Well, they can change all that tonight with a win because Seattle comes in a game over 500. This is going to be the best team Dallas has seen since Philadelphia and the Niners earlier in the year.
Teams we've played records haven't been great, but I can promise you everybody that comes in and everybody that we play, we do get their best shot. And not to say I don't think everybody else does that, but when you play the Dallas Cowboys, I can promise you the other teams, it is a little bit bigger than some of the games that they play, and that comes from people around the league. They always talk about it. Players that come in, free agents that come in, they mention it. So I'm not taking anybody lightly, and just understand this is about us and our growth.
All right, again, it's the Cowboys and Seahawks tonight. If you don't have Prime Video, find a friend or a sports bar. Kickoff at 7:15. And speaking of football, the XFL was in town today promoting a new ticket program, which I guess means there will be an XFL season. A spokesman confirming that the XFL and the USFL are merging. There'll be 4 teams from each league. San Antonio's one of those teams. They'll start on March the 30th. And again, it looks like we're going to have the Brahmas back for at least another season. Don't forget, here tonight, it's the Spurs and Hawks. And the good news is that Victor Wembanyama will play. And again, all those highlights tonight at 10 o'clock. At the Frost Bank Center, Don Harris, News 4 San Antonio.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Hey, looking forward to breaking the streak. We'll be right back. Thank you for joining us for News 4 In Depth. We are here for you, and we want to know the issues you'd like us to tackle in the future in our single topic newscast. So chime in on our News 4 Facebook and X channels. Next on News 4 San Antonio at 6:30, a federal judge rejects the state's request for a preliminary injunction to prevent authorities from removing razor wire at the southern border.